Welcome to the Ask the Geographer podcast series, brought to you by the Education Department at the Royal Geographical Society with IBG. I'm Rachel, your host, and in each episode I'll be joined by geographers from across the globe to delve into current events, publications and research, all tied to the fascinating world of geography. Hello and welcome to this special edition of Ask the Geographer podcast, where I'm delighted to be talking to Fiona Sheriff and Dr. Cyrus Golding, both of which are recipients of this year's Ordnance Survey Award for Excellence in Geography Education at secondary level. Fiona is the Head of Geography at Kingsthorpe College in Northampton and author of 100 Ideas for Secondary Teachers Geography Fieldwork. Fiona has received the award for her creativity in the curriculum and commitment to outdoor teaching and learning in geography. Cyrus is the Head of Department at Dulwich College, tutor and lecturer in Geography Education at King's College London, and co-founder of Roots, a pioneering geography journal which supports students in publishing their work. Cyrus receives his award for continuous contribution to geography and education. Fiona, Cyrus, thank you for joining me today. We're going to spend some time finding out a little more about you and why geography can take us in so many different directions. So, my first question is, how does it feel to have won the award?
Really shocked to win the award, especially as I just won a different award at the GA conference a few weeks beforehand. So I was really shocked and quite overwhelmed, actually. I think I cried when I opened the email to tell me that I'd won the award, because I really wasn't expecting it. So yeah, really unexpected, but feel really humbled that somebody has voted for me to win this award. It's fantastic. Thank you.
And Rachel, likewise, incredibly surprised, incredibly humbled, incredibly honoured, and actually really grateful to the students and my colleagues who have nominated me and who put me forward. So, it really doesn't represent a single person, me, who's getting this award. It really is a kind of contribution to everybody who's contributed to the projects that I've been part of.
It's lovely to be recognised for actually all the hard work you've been contributing. So well done again for the pair of you. So, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and kind of what your day-to-day role is like?
So firstly, I'm probably a bit different to lots of the other geographers that I know, but I'm an Open University graduate. So I've been teaching now for almost 11 years. I've held a wide range of different roles across school, including pastoral and now head of geography, where I've had that role for about 4 years now. Aside from that, I'm a mum. I've just come off maternity leave. I've got two beautiful girls, Luna and Bella, who are most definitely little mini geographers in their own right. Something a bit different, which is really unexpected. I learned how to fly a plane before I could drive a car. It's only recently, actually, that I passed my test. I passed my test in January at the grand old age of 35. But I used to be in the Air Cadets. I used to teach young people how to glide. So I flew both the Grob Vigilant and the Grob Viking. So that really sparked an interest in geography for me doing that, because I could see, obviously, for miles and miles up in the air. Had to learn lots about meteorology. So that really did kind of pique my interest and make me want to study it a little bit further. It's always a bit unexpected when people say that. I think there's a real picture of what a pilot should look like, and I'm not that person. I recently have been a Foresight Fellow at the UCL, so looking at curriculum and how we can develop that. And obviously I've written my book, which is published in the autumn term. Again, that was something that I didn't really expect to do on my maternity leave, but I'm not a person that can sit still. Day to day, I'm quite fortunate that I work part-time. So I'm taking full advantage of that flexible working. And as a leader, I think that's really important as well. So I returned from maternity leave in February. At the moment, I teach all year groups. So obviously we're in the throes of exam season at the moment. We have the first A-level exam today, which they all came out of very excited. I lead a department of 5 fantastic female geographers. And day to day, I'm sort of teaching, planning lessons, doing quality assurance across the curriculum, and just trying to really offer the best geography that we can to our students here at Kingsthorpe College.
Wow, amazing. Thank you.
Rachel, you identified that in our head of department at Dulwich College here. We equally have an incredible number of talented colleagues and geographers, and we've done some really special things here in the curriculum, including some pioneering units on how we can think about geography of empire through a really critical decolonial lens in a really meaningful way. And that's taught me a lot about, it's not only the content, but it's about how do you compose that unit, whose voices count, how do you make it very carefully and consciously and deliberately, and down to some new units on environmental geographies and the Anthropocene and plastic, where actually we're really trying to push what it means to be a geographer and bring it into the 21st century. So you'll see me working here in the department with the team, and supporting students. You'll also see me out doing school visits, supporting PGCE geographers and trainee geographers. You'll see me at the university doing lectures and bridging that gap between practice in the school and the classroom with what we're doing at university as well to support the newest geography teachers. You'll see me writing. I'm interested in a diverse range of environmental geography issues in the classroom, of hazards, and most recently, how we can bridge that gap between operational and academic colleagues when we're thinking about teaching about climate change and sustainability education, where actually the premise of some of my thinking is how we can get children to focus on the school as the site from which much of their thinking about the environment can start and the action can take place. So probably a combination of those things. And of course, Roots is another element of what I do, where supporting young people, young geographers in the sixth form and in universities in the UK and around the country become published authors before they've even left university. So a great variety of different things.
Fantastic. Both of you looking at geography for a very different lens here. It's really exciting to hear what you're up to as well. Lovely idea of flying as well. That sounds fantastic, Fiona. Thank you. So Fiona, back to you. Your book, it sounds incredibly useful to other teachers, fieldwork particularly. Can you tell us how you feel this will help get pupils out of the classroom more often?
So hopefully that it will give teachers, whether they've been teaching for 20 years or 2 months, some new ideas on how to incorporate fieldwork into their curriculums, therefore getting more pupils outside and doing some learning outside of the classroom, where potentially they usually equate the outside of school to doing PE, for example. We're looking at doing on-site fieldwork and then stretching that all the way out to the coast, rivers, ecosystems, whatever it might be, just giving teachers those ideas. I think particularly in the last couple of years, there's been a real decrease in teacher confidence in delivering fieldwork, and whether that's because of recruitment or more non-specialist teaching geography, actually students are getting out far less than they used to. So the ideas in this book are really short, they're to the point, they're 1 page each. You might have read some of the other titles from the 100 Ideas series. They're really to the point. And in comparison to some other fieldwork titles, actually, the book is far less intimidating, so staff really had to pick it up and want to take pupils outside as well. So hopefully there'll be at least one idea, whether that's looking at clouds on the school site or doing an investigation down their local high street into kind of globalisation, how that's affected their high street. There should be something in there which is for everybody, which really encourages people to go, do you know what, we can get outside, it isn't difficult. As well as that, inside the book, there are ideas on just organising that fieldwork as well, because sometimes it can be a challenge just to think, okay, how do we practically get students outside? How do we organise the groups? How do we organise the equipment? So there's some of that inside that book as well to just really help people just build their confidence in what they're doing with outside learning.
Great, kind of a one-stop shop. It sounds fantastic. So what do you think, in a nutshell, is the most important part of outdoor learning?
I think it's that opportunity to really apply what they've learnt in the classroom. So some concepts in geography are really quite challenging. You can draw as many diagrams as you want, but actually going outside and experiencing that, we took some students to Cardigan Mill Valley a few months ago, and suddenly the penny drops. They can start to see how everything is linked together. They're collecting that data. They understand it a lot more and actually begin to enjoy it a lot more because they understand it. So, the fact that they're in this really beautiful location, but they actually understand how all of that fits together, I think is the most important part. It really just brings it to life, and it's just such an important part of geography.
Yeah, that kind of light bulb moment is lovely to see, isn't it, when they're out in the field? Thank you. So Cyrus, your Roots Journal has been going on for just over 4 years now. Can you tell us how it's helping support your young geographers?
So Roots is a project which myself and a colleague, Professor Lizzie Rushton, who's at the University of Stirling, started at the start of lockdown, really. And we felt strongly that there weren't enough platforms to support young geographers to publish their work and also have their voices heard in the classroom. Much of what we read and write about in the classroom is from somebody who's an academic geographer or has been a school teacher for a long time. And it's quite difficult for children to feel actually their voice is legitimate in that dialogue, or they have something to say and they're given a platform. So we wanted to create a space where, with the support of over 300 peer reviewers who are top lecturers at universities around the world and in the UK, and teachers, what we could do is we could create a community where those experts would support sixth form geographers and undergraduate geographers improve their work to the point where it could be really nicely polished, and then teachers can use those articles in the classroom. So it has a dual effect. It opens up an opportunity to pluralize the voices we hear and see in the classroom. And it also supports student geographers with actually developing a piece of work and that process of refinement and actually feeling that they have developed some expertise, which is usually only something which happens much, much later in your geography career when you're able to publish. So we created that space and that platform for that to happen, and delighted to see geographers writing about it in their personal statement in year 12 and year 13 when they get to apply. Undergraduates saying it's really helped them think about master's courses, and they can write that down on their application forms. And the way it's brought the geography community together, those are incredible colleagues who really want to help young people craft and shape their work. And it doesn't just have to be essays. It could be a short book review, a film review, an opinion piece, a photo essay, a piece of field work, an NEA that's been written up in a really kind of concise way. So it was quite a pioneering effort to shift attention towards validating student voice.
That's wonderful to hear, and I'm sure it really builds their confidence. You're saying they're talking about it in their UCAS statements and giving them that opportunity to actually have kind of a very different, probably different perspective to what you have at academic level. That's wonderful. So thinking specifically about the articles that have been written, has there any one that's been particularly poignant to you, and why that was?
I mean, I have to say I'm incredibly proud of our student authors. I mean, I can't pick a single one because they are actually all brilliant. And I would encourage any listener to go and just have a look at the Roots website, go and have a read, go and see what spectacular work that student geographers can produce, because it will blow your mind about what their potential is when they lift that cap of what they think their ceiling is. I mean, what's inspired me most is this is a journal for physical, human, environmental geography, whatever you're interested in. There's some brilliant work that brings in kind of thinking about nuclear geographies and protests. There's feminist geographies. There's thinking about the menopause. There's actually lots of kind of physical geography field work there with some really interesting statistical interpretations. There's some book reviews. There's some film reviews of more niche films that might be kind of, it's not seen as geography per se, but can be brought in through a geographical kind of lens. So whilst I'm sort of avoiding your question of picking a single one, I'm most proud of how this has become a platform for the plurality of voices and ideas that I really think brings the richness to geography.
Yeah, 100%. They're being able to look at this diverse range of geography and actually, as you said, put it under the geographical lens. I think it's a really good thing for our listeners to understand that whole idea of geography isn't constrained by certain understanding. The amount of times people say, oh, geography is just about rocks or weather or river, but you've just explored what our geographers are curious about, and using that with the geographical lens, it is wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so back to both of you here. Obviously, we both celebrated the fact that you're heads of department, and you've talked a little bit about your kind of role as head of department. Sounds like you've got plenty of experience in the classroom as well as steering the curriculum. What would you say was the highlights of the role?
I think for me, really seeing students build their appreciation of geography. So something that we've tried to do over the last few years is really connect our students to classrooms across the world. So they can see that actually there are so many similarities between children in different countries that perhaps they may not have thought of before. So, for example, last year, we connected with a school in Pakistan, and our students were really connecting over some Korean music that they both really enjoyed. And our students were like, but Miss, how do they know about this? I'm like, they live a lot closer to Korea than what you live. There's huge differences perhaps in distance, but actually you've got so many similarities between you. They were just really enjoying learning more about Pakistan from the students that were living there, and it was so wonderful. We had done the same with students in Bangladesh and Taiwan as well, and we're looking to build that with Brazil next year. We've connected with a school there as well, so really bringing that geography to life for them has been just so phenomenal. Also as well, taking our students to places. So the school in which I work is in quite a deprived area, and lots of our students have never been to places like Cardigan Mill Valley, for example, have never been to London. So having the opportunity to take them to lots of places to discover what is out there outside of Northampton has been amazing as well, because it's been really eye-opening for them. It's made them think about places that they could go to university, things that they could study, which potentially previously they wouldn't have done. We've got students who are going off to study geography next year in places that they'd never heard of once upon a time. And for me, I feel like I've really done my job if they're going off to do that a bit later. If they study at A-level, if they study at a degree, that's been a real big highlight for me. And in fact, 2 of our previous students are now studying to become geography teachers, and I could not be prouder.
Oh, kudos to you. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely idea, that impact. I mean, you are, as a head of department, you're one amongst equals. It's our colleagues that make us love our job. And for me, it's opening opportunities for them to do incredible things, for them to take geography in a direction that matters to them, a unit or a qualification or a role in school that actually gives them the confidence that they can do something new and different, and it's about enabling that. And I think that's the biggest privilege of this role. And as Fiona was saying, thinking about geography teachers as those colleagues who are also inspired to really think about what geography can be, and it's always evolving, and it's got to change. It's got to change to reflect the current problems that we have with the climate emergency and the biodiversity crisis, and inequality and racism and so on. So it's about creating those opportunities to say that actually that's a valid way of thinking, and a justified way of thinking, and supporting those different directions for children and colleagues and their pathways.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So on the other side, what about the challenges?
I think there's been quite a few that have been thrown up in the last few years in terms of recruitment and retention within geography. Lots of teachers have left for geographical jobs, and unfortunately it means that we do have a bit of a shortage in geography teachers at the moment, which it really saddens me. And obviously we need to find a way to address that balance and get geography teachers or people wanting to study geography to become geography teachers. Now, obviously, as well as that, fieldwork has really decreased since the pandemic. Lots of students now aren't getting outside, and that can provide a challenge in terms of trying to get students back out and to encourage schools that they want to take students back out. For me, we had a little bit rough battle on our hands trying to get each year group out to complete some field work. So we've tried to do a lot more on site, but obviously we want to take students further afield as well to kind of fill in those gaps that potentially they came about as a result of the pandemic. Hopefully, over the next couple of years, fieldwork will begin to increase again. That was part of the reason why I wanted to write my book as well, to try and encourage people to want to go outside and go and do fieldwork with their students, particularly non-specialists and people that perhaps didn't do much fieldwork training during their teacher training because of the pandemic. So I think kind of there's this combination of different challenges at the moment in geography teaching, which are going to take a little while, I think, to tackle. But hopefully we are kind of on the up now, post-pandemic. Things will hopefully get better, and hopefully recruitment will increase as well.
Definitely, fingers crossed.
Absolutely. And I think we've been talking a bit around curriculum, and I think one of the challenges still for geography is often we feel that we are trying to justify our space still. What is geography? And we were talking a bit about that, and therefore what can be included and what can't be included is quite a difficult thing sometimes. Is this too historical? Is this too modern? Is this too scientific? Does that belong in geography? And I think we have those conversations quite a lot around that, which is still quite complex when a lot of the problems are joined up and interconnected for us to continually have to justify where something sits. I think another challenge, of course, of school geography is the complexity. Of course, you are teaching your subject, and we are here as part of a subject association. But a lot of the work we do is complex, administrative, thinking about field work. It's incredibly challenging now to get children out of the classroom from, many of the right reasons, but it is complex and it's time consuming. And, that's another thing that we have to deal with and work through. That connection between university geography and sixth form geography and GCSE, I still feel what you learn at university is still too different from that which we learn at GCSE and A-level. There's still too much of a disconnect, and you can be narrowed by just thinking about the ultimate goal is an exam grade, or what's on an exam specification. And when we know that actually geography is so much more than that, and it's those competing demands of breadth and richness versus the social mobility which a good grade might well enable you to get. And I think those are some of the tensions that we're still playing with.
Yeah, definitely. So final question from me. What's next for you both? What do you feel that you're going to be achieving in the future?
I feel like I've achieved so much in the last year that I didn't think would be possible, from writing a book to even winning these awards. That was not something that I'd kind of planned a year previous. I think now I've done some writing, I would like to do some more, but also to encourage students to write. We've spoken to students about the Roots Journal before. I'd really love for some of our students to pick that up and really run with that this year, because I think that's going to be so important for them. We've read journals from Roots, and lots of our students think, I'd really like to do this, but really encouraging them to do so, because some of them just write so fantastically that I think it needs to be shared. I'd also think I'd like to do some more of the subject associations. Claire at the RGS has given me so many opportunities to lead subject CPD, so it'd be fantastic to do more of that as well. I really enjoy being able to share that with other teachers.
Wonderful.
From my perspective, I was editor-in-chief of Roots for 4 years, and I think what needs to happen and what has happened is actually Roots doesn't belong to me. It was always the collaboration with many talented teachers and students, and the editor-in-chief role has now passed to two incredible postdoctorate geographers in Dr. Liam Saddington and Dr. Johnny Turnbull. So it has a life beyond me and Lizzie, and I'm really proud that that will continue. And I want Roots to be part of the geography landscape for 100 years to come. So I'm really proud that someone else can get that benefit of leading Roots while I just take a step back and see it continue to develop. So wonderful to hear that it's actually gone into your classroom as well, Fiona. So that's Roots. My own professional writing, I'm really interested in thinking about how schools can get to net zero by thinking about functional skills. How do we now enable young people to start thinking about calculating their own school's carbon emissions in maths? How do we create something like an EPQ where actually, rather than doing an EPQ on something geographical, why can't we get children to learn how to do an environmental impact assessment or a carbon calculation and give that critical thought? And that's a really amazing skill to have. So I'm thinking about how we can bring that kind of climate change education into schools, and how we can take climate change much more seriously as school institutions, because all schools have to get to net zero by 2025. And that's not just a technical exercise of reducing your gas emissions or more insulation. It's actually an opportunity for children to get involved in a lot of the ways that schools work in new ways. So I'm really interested in that. So some more writing to come when I have a moment. And then professionally, I've taken a new role as deputy head academic of a new international school, Brighton College in Hanoi. So I'm really excited to be developing a new curriculum there, working with colleagues and taking the next step to see a different country as well. So lots of exciting things coming up.
Congratulations. Thank you both for such insightful podcasts. We're really looking forward to hearing more about your endeavours and your adventures as we move forward through the year. Congratulations again on your well-deserved awards. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the Ask the Geographer podcast series on soundcloud.com or your preferred streaming platform. Dive deeper into the world of geography and stay informed with our wide range of resources, many of which are available for free. School membership grants access to even more resources, including online lectures and supporting materials for both teachers and learners. Explore our resources and discover our additional offers for education at www.rgs.org/schools.